everyone, it's Rick Carson. We're at the beautiful Make Believe Studios. Today we are doing the follow-up and conclusion to our Weezer Blue Album Guitar Tone Mystery Extravagance, Experience, Extravaganza, whatever you want to call it, of 20 years of searching for this missing amp. And I cannot thank Mike B over at Mesa Boogie enough for bringing this dream home. This amp sounds exactly the way that I would hope that it would sound. And I cannot speak more highly of the work that he has done, not only in the past, but to this very day. He is absolutely killing it, and you should really consider getting something worked on by him while you still can. So that said, this tone ended up being a combination of the Mesa Boogie Mark I with the loop modification and the Marshall Silver Jubilee. A lot of people think that it's a 900 SLX, but if you actually look at photos from the session, you'll see another amplifier floating around. And this is actually the later black non-anniversary version of this amplifier that's in the standard Marshall livery of gold and black instead of the anniversary of black and silver. So little bit of a throw off because a lot of people think that it's the SLX, but we went and we listened to a couple different amps, and this is the amp that drove home the other side of the record for us. That said, we got to talk about the guitars that were used to capture the tone for this. One of them, a lot of people believe, was a Les Paul Jr. with a P90. I think where that Les Paul was utilized was when they were retracking the original guitar player who left Jason's parts, and I think it was that Les Paul with the P90 utilized into this amplifier. I think that what went down with the Mark I is the Super Strat, the red Stratocaster that Rivers played during this time period that was originally owned by Jason. This Strat was very interesting. It had a lot of modifications to it, and I'm going to talk about that because I've actually made my own. So let me grab that. It's right here. And while this isn't a Stratocaster, this is a Fender Bullet. And there's a couple things to talk about. A lot of people want to talk about the bridge. And if you look at photos now of Rivers playing his Stratocasters, you'll see that he does rely on the bridge pickup a lot. But if you look at all of the photos from back then of him in the live room at Electric Lady or him playing any show with this guitar, he is always in the neck pickup. And the neck pickup in that guitar was a DiMarzio Humbucker from Hell. And this pickup is very interesting because it is counterintuitive for what you'd really expect from a humbucker or a neck pickup. So it is very, very, very bright for a humbucker. It's also very low output. It's roughly 5K. And that brings a pretty solid bridge sort of humbucker sound, but because of where it's capturing the strings, they're just moving around so much more that they sound really thick. And there's a couple other things that are going on to that. So one is, in this guitar, we installed a Black Ice module. The Black Ice module is something that was commercially available back then during the Blue Album days, and they had them in their guitars. And there's quotes of Rick and Chris, the people who recorded and produced the record, talking about how they would roll back their tone knobs and how they were always fighting about rolling back the tone knobs. But the tone knobs weren't actually tone knobs in that Stratocaster. The tone knobs were a distortion device. And the Black Ice module is available today, but if you go and purchase it, that one is made with different diodes than how they built them in the 90s. So you actually have to go and figure out which diodes those are. And I clearly went through and did that at some point. I can dig out that information if someone really cares. But we put a Black Ice module in here. And then also, if you go through, you got to look at photos of Rivers Super Strats that he plays, because he will show with markings on the guitars and on the knobs how he likes to dial it in, because you can't have the Black Ice module all the way up or you won't get any definition really. So it's a fine balance. And also, I believe on that guitar, you had the ability to split the coils. And on this guitar, you have the same ability. And I think that that really helps out with utilizing that guitar and the neck pickup with this amplifier as a clean tone. which you can hear on recordings from back in the 90s, he did. He would play the one guitar into the amp and there was somehow a clean sound. And I think it was because, you know, he could roll back the volume, split the pickup, and it instantly cleaned up really, really well. That said, the other guitar that we utilized, we didn't have a Junior here, but we utilized an SG that had a P90 in it, and we think that these tones turned out really, really great. The cabinet that we utilized to capture this tone was our Marshall cabinet that had G1265s in it. And if you actually look at the inside photos of his big cabinet, you'll see that there's greenbacks on one side and that there's blackbacks on the other side. And we found that the 65 is very similar to greenbacks, but more similar to the blackbacks. And when I was on this journey, I have not been able to come across this photo again. So one of you Weezer diehards out there is a photo of his cabinet from a vocal booth with microphones on it. And you can see that the microphones are on the left-hand side of the cabinet majority. And for us, we thought instantly that it sounded great. So there wasn't really too much exploring with the greenback cab. Although we do have one, we didn't actually feel like it was needed. And both of these amps going into that 65 was the sound for us. Very, very similar. The microphones we used were a 421 and a 57, and we blended those together. They went into 1073s, and there was a little bit of EQ on the 1073s, but not much. They got blended down on the API, went to one bus, and then they went through an SSL channel because the console was mixed on an E-series, and we felt that that really drove it all home. So check it out. Let us know what you think. There are Kemper and NAMM profiles available for this tone that we're just putting up for free. Go download them. We hope you love them, and we are so happy that we finally are able to capture the sound. Catch up with it. Bye.